Greetings, dear ones. I'm Cryon of Magnetic Service. This is a short message, and I'm going to cloak it in a story, a situation which has never happened. So you can peek with me into a potential, a possibility. I want you to imagine for a moment my partner has been called to give a lecture on indigo children, 2 indigo children. He has the graduating class of a high school in front of him in an auditorium in what they would call an assembly. And he comes out on stage. And now I'm going to tell you what he might say to them. And I want you to listen carefully. You might think this is for indigo children. I want you to listen carefully. And the first thing he would say is, adults, leave the room. Teachers, leave the room. These human beings know better. They'll sit fine. They don't need supervision at this moment. Leave the room, because I want to talk to them. Heart to heart. Leave the room. And one by one, teachers would leave, the adults would leave. They would go out into the hallway wondering what was going to be said. And when they were all gone, including the technicians that were older than 19 years old, he would address the children and he would look at them and say, I know who you are. I know what you know. I know that some of you are frustrated and you don't even think you're in this planet. I know something that you know and that no adult really understands. I know that you have a different conceptual nature and you're working with an old system. I know this. I know there's friction because of it. I know that the old system is far more than just your school. But even in that, if you look at the publishing date of your textbooks, you might see they're very current. But they're not. Because so many of those dates in your textbooks, indigos, are revised editions. Let me define revised edition. New cover. Half a century old, I guarantee it. The system that your parents have in the way they talk to you, in the way they discipline you, in the way they love you, was inherited from their parents, totally. And they're doing the very best they can because it is the best and the newest thing they ever knew, coming from their parents to them. The way that children learn, the way they are disciplined, the way they are taught, all at least 200 years old. And you know better, don't you, children? Don't you, young people? It's like tapes that play that don't really mean much, and you know that somehow it's not you. Somehow it doesn't even fit with who you know you are. I know all of this, and there are others on the planet that do as well. What can you possibly do to get through this? What do you tell your sisters and brothers who are younger than you to get through this? When you're in a system that frustrates you because it just doesn't make sense. And I'm going to give you the answer. I want you to smile and play the game. If it indeed is true that you're smarter than the system, and you are, prove it. Walk through the system in tolerance of the old energy that even those teaching you don't understand that they have. And if you're smarter than the system, ace the tests. Give the teachers what they want to hear. You're smart enough to do that. If you rebel against it, then you become part of the dysfunction that you're rebelling against. Ace the tests. Give them what they want, play the game, smile, and when you get out of class, laugh about it. have little meetings together of how silly it is, and then go back in and play the game. And when you get that graduate certificate that says, I'm out of school, listen to me, indigos. At that point in time, rewrite the books and rewrite the manuals. Rewrite it in the way you treat your children. Rewrite it in the way you treat others, because you're smarter than the system. Become the system. Make the system become you. Change the planet, because you're smarter than the system. Old souls, each one in this room listening to this, I have one word for you. Ditto. I said it last night. The way that you're going to exist in an old energy is to play the game. Don't make the waves, don't buy into the drama. As ugly as it is on the news, smile and know better. Things are changing. Ace the tests of life, meaning that you will be no fear, more peaceful. All of these things, so that rewrites the future. Rewrite how you treat your friends. Rewrite how you teach your children if you're of that age. Look at them differently and know what they face. And if you would do this, old soul, you would understand that Spirit knows you're smarter than the system. You have more light than there ever has been. And indeed, you will rewrite what happens next. And history will show it. To the indigos, I tell you this, there'll come a day when the books reflect what you know. The concepts you understand, teaching will be different, books will be different. And all these things that you go through today, indigo, will come out the other end because you will know better. That is your legacy. That is why you're here. Old soul, ditto. So many times I have said this, and some of you understand it. I know your soul. I know your soul because it is allied with mine. And there would be those who would say, wait a minute, Cryon, do you have a soul? And the answer is yes. You don't have to be a human to have a soul. The soul, as defined, would be the piece of divinity, of the source that you are as you walk here. If you know of the cycle that some of you have called reincarnation, it's actually misnamed. It's you returning, revitalized yet again from the source with the same soul. How many lifetimes have you lived? You had the same soul in all of them. Would it then make sense that this same soul would have a history that you might even be able to access, called the Akash? And in this room, there are old souls. And that means that you've been here a lot. The soul of Cryon simply says it is one of the pieces, like yours, of the divine source. You might even say that although I'm not apparently human, that I am a sister and I'm a brother to all of you, like you are to one another in the room. I want to impress you on that before I start the real message. When you start to look at what is happening on the planet, that which my partner would teach before, not necessarily today, it is filled with profundity, purpose, timing, appropriateness, and massive change. What happens when you have paradigms change? There's a number of things that you could point to. The first thing is this, that your future is often seen as a repeat of the past. But if you have a paradigm shift, None of the principles, the actions, the interfaces, or the expectations of what has happened in the past can be applied to the future. And since none of you have been there yet or experienced it yet, it's change that you don't necessarily appreciate or like or understand. The profundity of this goes further than just a paradigm shift for you. If you really understand the elements of physics that talk about time, you'd know that time is in a circle. And in this circle, you tend to run over some of the same energies you've created in the past, then creating that episode that you will call repeating history. And I just told you nobody has been there yet. So some of you are way ahead of me, and you would say, well, then what happened to the circle? And the answer is you broke it. You are on another path. Call it dimensional shift if you wish. It's not totally accurate. Call it anything you want to, which says this: you're beginning something new that has never happened on this planet ever before. And the thing that is driving it is not that outside source that some of you all fear. It's you. It's the consciousness of individuals starting to have a coherence together, a confluence of energy that will start to guide the planet. Look at the timing. You never had social media before. You never had the ability to be alone in a closet and contact 1 million people. And you can today. You can today. You never had the ability to form a consensus of what you're thinking, and you do today. Tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of human beings collectively can do something they never could before. They can do things that would make politicians shake in their boots because they're in such control, and you don't know it yet. Oh, you will. Perfect timing for a paradigm shift, going through a shift that was predicted thousands of years ago, way before modern religion. The ancients were involved. Thousands of years, it said, from the stars, there'll come a day, measured by the precession of the equinox, a 26,000-year wobble on the earth, there'll come a day when humanity will end the time it was in and start another time. Profoundly, the Mayans called it a calendar that ended in 2012. It wasn't a mistake, because that calendar was 5,125 years long. It's time for a shift, and you're in it. A time change, a paradigm shift, a dimensionality. And the biggest problem will occur with the futurists. I'm talking to you, John. The problem is this: you will sense things on a track that have been accurate before, and then they won't happen. And the reason they don't is because the track is now different. You cannot take what was and apply it to what will be based upon the same principles and paradigms. What has taken place is systemic. You must have another track record. You must go for a while before you start to see the signs that measure differently than they used to. Even the most profound studies are based upon the past, not on the future. So it gets in the way of logical thinking of what might happen next. And that's when you have to create multiple scenarios of possibility. and not make up your mind it will be this one or that one based upon something in the past or a model in the past or even that which you believe is analytically accurate that happened in the past. Human nature itself will change. And how in the world do you track that? What are the data points that you will come in agreement with a paradigm that has not been, featuring human nature that has shifted and changed? And all this to say, dear ones, that when you mix the old with the new, you have problems. Moving into the new energy is difficult. And some will see it as frightening and scary because the rudder that you counted on in the past, at least you knew who would do what and behave this way, is gone. The rudder is missing. A new rudder is being built called the paradigm of how humans think, what they want, and what they can collectively do in a new time, in an age where coherence is being measured between the consciousnesses of countries. It's different. And that brings me to you. And Aranda said, you're not here by accident. I will tell you this, more than volunteered to do this, you stood in line to be here. Because you didn't want to miss this which you've lived lifetime after lifetime in the old energy. To miss the potential that you would go through something this shockingly different. You wanted it, and you're here. The veil hides so much from you, but let me ask you, why do you sit in the seats? What has awakened you? Why do you feel a little different? What brought you to these messages? Was it the compassion? Was it the love? Then you responded to the correct things, because that's who you are. You're an old soul. And you are the ones, singularly, one by one, perhaps by the tens of thousands, perhaps by the millions, who will change that coherence of the planet, that confluence of thought of the planet. And when that begins, you're going to see something. It's catchy. And we've said this before. Indeed, the ones with old energy eventually will die out. They'll carry it to their grave. They'll try to do this and that and force this and that. You'll see the last of the old guard, the last of the Illuminati, the last of this and that you've known forever controlled humanity. And in its place are things you didn't expect. And that's why you've got to make things up with your intuition, John, of what might happen, not logically based on human nature, but based on the intuition you would have that brought you to the planet to be a futurist. Some of the things not measurable at all are already inside you, given to you as a futurist, where you can project things without data, and then they will happen. I don't want to frighten you, but that's called channeling. It's beautiful, isn't it? To know that you're moving from a darker place to a lighter place. That the magnetic grid has changed for you to accomplish this. That the place in space that you are as a solar system is different to accomplish this. That the stars align to accomplish this. Right place at the right time. Don't fear what you signed up for. We continue from a moment ago. I want to establish the energy in this room is precious. And it's precious no matter if you feel it's precious or not. It's precious because it is. And it's free choice for the human to find something that is elevated beyond what they expect. It's free choice for the human being to go beyond that which perhaps they've inherited of what they believe they should think. I want to talk about that. The preciousness is a compassion that is soul compassion, soul coherence. It's all of those things combined when you consider what might be in the room because you're here. You have a mistaken idea that Spirit, God, Source, or whatever would send a plethora of angels to warm the place up so you could come and celebrate. And you don't know. Made in His image. And the image is divinity and love and compassion and the ability to do marvelous things. That's made in His image. And you've heard it all your life. That's who you are. And so I'm going to project this in a way I haven't before. Dear humanity, dear ones in this room, dear listeners, your reality is what you inherited. I'll say the word, you have synthesized a reality that you've inherited from your parents, from their parents, from their parents, of what everything does. The reason why you're here, your lifespan, what you can do, what you can't do, how you should act, what's going to happen. All of it. Inherited. And what you continue to do is to synthesize that reality. One generation tells the other generation who they are, what might happen, and where you're going. And I don't know you've ever really thought about it. You are a product of what your parents have said. And from the very beginning, they start telling you what humans do and what they don't do and what's proper and what's not and how long you live. They give you the whole paradigm of what they were told and what their parents told them. And when I say you synthesize it, I say it because that's not exactly right. You see, the human is bigger than that. That's the 33% that I've talked about before, that your DNA simply accepts and works with. Easily catching disease, easily doing all manner of things. You weren't built that way. That's not who you are. Oh, you are so much more. Did you know in a channel that we had in the past, we even told you that your lifespan is 2-3 times what you think it is. But because you have synthesized what it should be, you believe it. And therefore that becomes your reality. I have objections from those who are logical and intellectual that said, wait a minute, Kryon, stop the channel. Because we believe in science, measuring, statistics. Not the energy that you talk about, not the 33%, nothing. We believe because we've measured lifespan of thousands of human beings. They become data points. We've seen the bell-shaped curve. We know how long humans live. You're living a little longer today because of nutrition than you were before. It's science. You can't say that humans were designed to live 2 or 3 times that long. Look at the facts. And here's my answer. And I hope I make it acceptable and believable. You've carefully plotted the data points that you plot because every single one of them you created. And in the end, you come up with a chart and you calling it science, and it's a map of your own dysfunction. And you present it as proof. That is a synthesized reality. I told you before, I said that your lifespan is much higher than that. And who's the first who's going to go for it and discover it and claim it and realize that consciousness is linked to it? And what you believe starts to become the reality, not what you've been taught. All of you have been through a major paradigm shift in your life called childhood. There's another one that you are facing. A paradigm shift that is going to bring you out of your inherited culture. And there will be those of you who come out of it and those of you who won't go there. Because it's too uncomfortable to even consider. What was it like when you were a child? Your reality was protected. You weren't paying mortgages. You weren't doing any of these things, dear ones. You were a child. And in that, there was a time when you grew up. That's a paradigm change. When you started to take the responsibility, when your hormones started to change, when the chemistry, your size, all of those things, a metamorphosis. You've been through this. Yet, in that one, it was natural. Your parents held your hand all the way, and you were there. Or those around you held your hand all the way. So many of you can remember the first time you heard somebody say that you were a woman or a man, and how special that was. A metamorphosis out of childhood. There's a famous scripture that says, when I was a child, I spoke as a child, I understood as a child, I thought as a child. But when I became an adult, I put away childish things. And it's scriptural because it's metaphoric to awakening to a higher consciousness of understanding. The history that you have called your reality is like the childish things that you're going to put away when you start realizing that there is so much more. So much more. The question always is, what's there? How do I get there? How long will it take? What am I facing? But before you even go there, I want to give you a little story. I like to tell stories, and I like to tell them as though you were a child. And I tell the story to show you the profundity of who you are. You won't forget the story. You might forget the channel. You won't forget the story. In today's world of modern animation and storytelling, there's often what you would call cartoons in the old days, where many of the personalities are machines. Cars will have their own personalities. No humans around, just the machines. And so that's where we're going, into a child's story of Johnny Boing Boing. He was a machine. Now, machines aren't that bright, and they're not that intellectual. He was just happy to be here. But he kept jumping up and jumping up. Boing, boing, boing. And what Johnny knew about himself as a machine was this: that he was powerful and he was fast. And he spent his life with other little machines, all happy, all working together. But they would race occasionally. Oh, Johnny Boing Boing, he won every single time. I mean, he didn't just win. He blew them away. And it was fun. It was fun to race. In those days, on this place, there weren't a lot of mirrors. He couldn't really see. But he was told he had a set of wheels that made the difference in his power and his speed, different than any other of the vehicles. And that the amazing power of his engine would go and would blow all of them away. They didn't even want to race anymore. Made him a judge. Because he would always win. Cute little Johnny Boing Boing. Always leaping up. Boing, 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 boing. Didn't understand that part either, but he tried his best. And as the story is told in this mythology, it goes like this. They all said, well, you know, we don't last that long. Machines really don't. But it's really okay because we go to machine heaven. And when we are then disassembled and we're no longer functional because we're old, we get rebuilt. In machine heaven, our parts are sometimes reused, sometimes we get new. We come back as new machines. It's good news. But you're going to meet the machine God, the Creator God, the one who made all of us. Beautiful, they said. And as the mythology went, when you stop being a machine and you go into this machine heaven, you're going to find out things you didn't know. There's going to be a review of your life that is not something that is judgmental. It's beautiful. It's like a book. They'll make a book. In time, little Johnny Boing Boing, indeed, got old, couldn't go very fast, and realized it was time. Wasn't long before, indeed, he was at the foot of the machine God. Beautiful. What a feeling. He was so happy to be there. He saw all manner of things he didn't understand there. And in front of him, this big golden machine. Johnny Boing Boing. So good to see you again. We love you. Johnny said, yes, I was told you'd say that. It's so beautiful. Can I go back again? And the voice said, oh yeah. We'll get you all polished up and we'll put you back in service. But Johnny, I have to ask you a question. And Johnny said, what is it? Little Johnny Boing Boing, what is it? What is it? He said, well, you didn't really fulfill your full potential, you know. And little Johnny looked up and said, oh, I was the fastest thing on the planet. I beat them all. I could race faster than any of them. And the voice said, yes, but Johnny, you're a Boeing 747. Who are you, dear ones, really? You are designed to fly with peace and compassion and soar beyond any consciousness that you've ever inherited, any of them. You were designed to go way past the synthesization of who you were told you could be. You were designed to work together corporally like you never have ever seen or ever thought you would. You were designed to be protective against any disease on the planet. Did you know that? But all of this takes a human being to step out of the synthesis, to step out of the cultural inheritance of what you were told you were. And that sometimes is an issue, a problem, a trouble, scary to some. How do you do it? We'll sit here and say yet again, the first step is to understand you can fly. The first step is to understand that you're not who you were told and to cognize it. And that is to say, know it at the intuitive core level. I am not who I was told. And at that, there is a beginning of discovery, self-discovery. Absolutely unique for every single human being. That's why I'm not going to give you step 2 or 3 or 4. Because it'll be different for all of you. How long does it take? What do you find? What's next? Don't you understand that because you are a unique creature, having lived all the lives you've lived, there's no one like you. No one. So the progress you will make in the discovery of self is unique totally. It's not like anyone else. You can't make a rule book that's generic and one pill fits all. It won't work. But here's some magic I want to tell you about. You make an assumption anytime that you are told by a guru, by a channeler, by a leader, by a teacher, you make an assumption you're going to have to climb some steps. You're going to have to do some things to get there. You may then decide, well, I don't want to really go to that trouble. I'm kind of happy where I am. It's not something that I need to do. And here's what I want to tell you. Follow the logic. If you were designed to fly, a metaphor for the peace that's possible, the compassion, the wisdom, the consciousness, if that's your design, it is already there. It's in you. You don't have to go find it. You don't have to go ask for it. You don't have to go pay for it. It's there. It's already there. Now, I want you to pause for a moment in this energy. I'm going to give you another metaphor, and I've given it before. And that is of the rest of your body, that enhancement that is coming, is sitting there with its hand out saying, coming or not. Coming or not. It's already there. You, your soul, your innate, your intuition, your Akash, all involved in an illuminated, high consciousness human being, a transition, a paradigm that is already ready to take. The hard part, believing it. The next hard part, stepping off the cliff. And when you do, you're going to be caught very firmly in the hands of the Creator of Spirit. The metaphor is clear. Dear ones, you're taken care of. You're never alone. All of these things that you're looking at, the next step in your evolution, the change of paradigm, all of these metaphors is you discovering you more than you ever have before. And one thing leads to another because you're going to be pulled through that hole, that old paradigm, by an intelligent you who has always been there, ready for you, standing beside you. You're not going to have to climb the stairs alone or discover things for yourself. It's there. Oh, you just have to take away the dark cloud that covers it. Believe it's there. Does it sound too simple? It's never simple for a human being to change themselves. You like the paradigm you're in a little too much. But this is what the old soul was designed for. The caterpillar who turns into the butterfly. This is what you are, designed and ready, and the timing is now. Go from this place, understanding things you didn't before, even a little bit, even a little. You might pause tonight when you're alone to yourself. Dear Spirit, I heard the channel. I believe it. I want to move into those places that are new for myself. Help me to do it, step at a time. I'm going, I'm ready, I'm there. And then stand back. If you meant it, things start happening. You don't have to reinvent it. You don't have to climb the mountain. The mountain will come to you. The meeting is being put on and hosted by what is called a futurist. A futurist is one who spends their life or the energies in trying to predict that which will come. And in the predicting of it, to prepare in a benevolent way when it happens. To put things in place that would agree with what is seen to be coming. That is a futurist. And in honor of that, I would like to paint a picture of 3 things that you could expect in your future. I'm going to base them around the questions that were asked of my partner today. One of the questions was about electronics, about machines, about the future of what you call artificial intelligence. Where is it going? Is there a danger to human beings because of it? Is humanity to go into a dark hole of its own creation because it made machines that turned against it? Is it going to do the kinds of things that your movies have predicted, told about, goes into your consciousness? And here's the answer. You don't know what you don't know. And what I mean by this is, what is coming in the future is not predictable by anything that you've experienced in the past. The evolution of circuitry, of artificial intelligence, the evolution of technology itself for the last 50 years doesn't necessarily apply to the next 50. And the reason is because of a systemic paradigm shift. And that can only happen with consciousness that changes in its expectations of what you want, of what is happening. 3 scenarios. I'll give you the scenarios in a timeline that is not identified by years, but by positions. 1, 2, and 3, meaning first, second, third into the future. Now, what I'm going to tell you is real. It is not that a prediction from Kryon, it is that which Kryon and you have seen before in other places at other times. How is that possible? Are you talking about Earth? No. Remember, old soul, you're a very old soul. We gave a message some time ago. How old are you? And it puts you on other planets of free choice, going through this shift at different times. Many of you are awakening right now and remembering what's coming, remembering what to do. It's starting to temper your fear of what you see, because at some level you remember where it might go. The future is dependent completely upon free choice. That's you. How fast you make it happen, free choice. That's you. So if I say 50 years or 100 years, which I will not say, it'll be wrong. Faster or slower depends upon you. There will be some surprises. And the surprises in technology will be surprises because nobody ever considered it. Nobody ever invented it. Number one. This is not necessarily in the distant future, but it is number one. It would be the first step. And what I'm going to give to you in all 3 instances has to do with you, the benevolent healing technology of the human being. You're going to find the focus in the future of electronics is going to be health. It's going to turn inward into the human's ability for technology that will be benevolent and help you heal. Right now, electronics does not turn inward, it turns outward. You use something. It accomplishes something. In this particular case, that is an outward evolution. This is an inward evolution. Electronics, machinery, all these things going inward and turning to an understanding more of the human body. I give you the first scenario. It involves inventions that have not yet occurred, processes that are not understood yet by you, which are on the way. The cancer patient reports to the hospital. Lays down, but instead of surgery, there's something else that's going to happen. A very tiny, small injection with something going into the body that you didn't expect. Someone would call it, perhaps, in your older energy, micro-robotics. It isn't. Oh, it's something new. And if you could examine the millions of little things that are being put into the bloodstream, you would be astonished. And you'd say, I'm not sure that that's really even possible, Kryon. Because they're as big as small cells, no bigger than a cell you can barely see with the naked eye. Hundreds of thousands, if not millions, all going. but they're not robots. There is no such thing as artificial intelligence because it has become something else. It's become intelligence of the human who is involved in the healing. Think of it this way. What if you could take a piece and the part of a stem cell that is you, that has a consciousness of you, that's a benevolence of you, that would never hurt you, that it's not artificial, and you insert it into that which is a microscopic machine? The cell, then, your consciousness is guiding the rest of that part. Part electronic, sure. Part mechanical, barely. Going through the bloodstream on its way to a place that is the tumor. And after literally less than 15 minutes, they're all collected around the tumor. It's not a robot. It's not artificial intelligence. It's you. Inserting yourself into your own body in a miraculous way through inventions that are not here yet. Part biology, part machine, part electronics, all together in a benevolent scenario that gathers around the tumor and with a process you don't know about, destroys it. Destroys it. A hint, what destroys disease? Not the scalpel. I'm not talking about that. What is it that can destroy disease? It's the first wave of the understanding. You're inserting consciousness right next to the tumor. And it starts to go away. It's dissolving. It has no choice because it's got millions of little yous all around it. Is this possible? Is something like this even feasible? I've just given you a reality that will happen. Now that's archaic compared to the next one. Leap over. How many years? It's up to you. How many years? The cancer patient reports to a building. And the building may have a sign that says the V group, complete and total healing. One-stop shopping for disease elimination. And the cancer patient goes into the building. There's no injection. This is the height and the evolution of virtual reality. Today you have the beginning of it. You put on a pair of goggles and you can look around, and what you see is that which is a program. You can look around yourself in 360 degrees. You'll be put into beautiful nature. You'll hear the sounds of nature. And in that you feel this virtual reality is all around you. Dear ones, that's a toy compared to what I'm going to give you. You go to a place, you sit down. I won't describe the apparatus. It'll give it away. It's coming. It will be invented. It's in the minds and the akashas of those who will do it. And in a moment or two, you are in another place. A virtual reality that lets you stand and walk and be. So real is it that you can interface with others, not with a program, but other intelligences that are human. They're in there with you to help you. Nothing is artificial about it, except the things you see. And what you see is a healing center. And in this healing center, a story within a story, you go into a building. And you lay down. And above your head is a screen. And on the screen is your tumor. And you're lying down for a reason. That is so you'll be relaxed and joyful, understanding. So there's no distribution one way or other to blood to your head or to your feet. It's normal. You're in a position of neutrality. The screen is above you, and you start to see your tumor. Given to you may be something called paddles. I'm not going to describe them. It would give it away. And in this, you are going to manipulate the healing of your own tumor, but that's not all. You're going to use some sounds also. You're going to sing a little, and there's going to be some affirmative kinds of tunes and sounds you may make. A schedule that you've rehearsed and that you know. It is so real. You're in another world, and yet at the same time you're sitting in a chair, lying down perhaps. But it feels like you could stand, you could be, you could do. In the real world, that's not where you are. You're in the virtual world. And then it happens. In this virtual world, you start seeing yourself heal your own tumor. You watch it start to go down. The healing starts to be complete. There's a feeling of joy. You start to see your own healing in such a profound way, and you realize this is great. This is wonderful. Look what I'm doing. The virtual experience lasts a day or more. It is so real, you eat during that time and you're nourished. In a virtual situation, so real. You get up after you've dissolved your own tumor and you've sung to it and it's gone. You're not done. You go for the tests. And you sit, and the doctors start to test to see if it's gone. And it is. And you see the results, and you see the chemistry, and you see the charts. And they shake your hand and they say, congratulations, it's gone. All in a virtual world. When it's time for you to come back to the real world, they bring you back slowly. You didn't put on a pair of goggles, dear ones. I'm not going to tell you what you did, but it was complete. It surrounded you. There's nothing like it. Virtual world, almost like you stepped into another dimension. Not to give it away. And when you come back, nobody gives you any tests to find out how it turned out, because they know. Complete healing. You cognized with your own consciousness a total and complete healing that you had done yourself with the assistance of a virtual healing pattern. And you walk away without cancer. Now that's the power of the future. Because it's a future that recognizes what consciousness can do and what it can be. That's scenario 2. Scenario 3. Question about the multidimensional human being. And in order to give this to you, this is where you're going by yourself, without any machinery, without any virtual, without any chemistry. This is evolution. Not to tell you how long it may take, it's up to you. But let me introduce something that's dysfunctional in your body. You don't even know it is. It's just the way it is, and you've accepted it, and that is called your innate. How does it feel to be the highest evolved creature on the planet with intellect, where you can examine your own being, why you exist, why you're here, to say the words, I am that I am, and yet there is another process in your body that is smarter than you. You muscle test, kinesiology, all to find out something that you ought to know, but you don't, because you are separated from your chemistry. Let me ask you, just logically, does it make sense that you would have been created in this way? And the answer is no, it's not logical, and it doesn't help your survival. Disease attaches itself to it, and you never know it until you're hurt. You've got to access the innate separately, completely and totally separately, through processes that are archaic. Really? It can't really talk to you. It can give you signals. It can't talk to you, not really. Signal you here, signal you there. Innate, the smart body. The multidimensional human being is going to use that 24th pair of chromosomes that you think you don't have. Oh, 23andMe people. The 24th is multidimensional. It is not yet understood or seen or recognized. It's the one the Pleiadians gave you for today. Because it starts to work in you, and generation after generation, when consciousness starts to increase and you start to see things and you start to see quantum things, it will reveal itself in the double helix. And you will have a revelation, oh my, there's more than we thought. And what is it going to do? The first thing that you'll start seeing is children born with a meld of themselves and their consciousness and their innate. They will be their own healer. They will know all about their blood chemistry without a test. They will know when any disease tries to attach to them instantly, the moment it happens, instead of waiting for something to grow and have pain. They'll be their own medical intuitive. And people will see the first stages of this and they'll say, this is unbelievable, it's not right. It'll come out firstly as odd and unusual, and they'll isolate them because they're not normal. Welcome to Earth. That's what you do, don't you? That's what you've done to the autistics, you know. Because you don't see it coming, do you? You don't see the savants in the future, do you? You only see an unusual set of children that have odd communication, that are difficult in an old energy, because you're not there yet. You don't know what's coming. You don't see yourself in them, do you? A non-linear thinker. That's who they are. It's starting to show itself in so many ways. Look at what they can do that you can't, and that'll give you a hint of who they are. It's coming. That multidimensional piece of your DNA that you can't even see yet is going to bring your consciousness in line with your innate. Now, I finish with this. What is your innate attached to that is also a mystery that you cannot easily access, and it's called the Akash of the human being? You're going to be connected to your Akash. What do you know about the Akash? It's something that often bothers you. It bothers you because it only remembers bad things. These are the things that even today you work with, and successfully, but you work with them because they're not obvious. They're not pasted upon your consciousness yet, and they will be, which gives you full access to the wisdom of the past, full access to dismiss all negative things. This will be one of the most significant evolutionary steps of humanity, the marriage of the Akash, the innate, and consciousness. That will be the multidimensional human being. And when it takes place, you will then look at the fact that you might have come from the Pleiadians, and you'll know who they are. You'll understand, because it's all part of a scenario of connection, of coherence with your brothers and sisters from the stars. That is the future. How soon, Cryon? Not soon enough. Not soon enough. But you'll be there. Every single one with free choice will come back and be improved and improved in a world that has so much promise. Why, Cryon? Why all of this? What if I told you this? There'll come a time, dear ones, when it's your job to seed some other civilization in some other faraway place and give birth to compassionate action in other places of this galaxy. Are you getting this? how important you are at this juncture of time. So many mysteries, you might say, all to be revealed, and you'll be there. Don't fear these things, because they come from you. That is the message for today. And so it is.